Kayak Fishing Tales is brought to you by Ocean Kayak, makers of the Trident series of fishing kayaks.
This week we're going to talk about how and when to use rudders. And let me tell you right off the bat, if your kayak doesn't have a rudder, don't worry about it. Rudders are far from essential pieces of gear. And if you really decide you want one, you can usually just add one later. Rudders flip down from their stored position on top of the deck by use of haul lines found alongside the cockpit. You'll then control the rudder with foot pedals. Believe it or not, the main purpose of a rudder isn't to turn a kayak. It's to keep it running straight when you're paddling in wind, because a kayak will naturally want to turn into wind. That's something that's called weathercocking. If you don't have a rudder, what you'll end up doing is taking extra hard strokes on one side to keep your boat running straight. The reason a kayak does this is because when you're traveling forward, water's hitting the sides of your kayak in the bow. And this water that's hitting your kayak is bouncing off and creating wake. That water that's hitting the sides of your kayak is effectively pinning the bow of your kayak in place. Now, past the center point or the widest point of your kayak, you won't have water hitting the sides of your kayak. It's more of a low pressure zone back there. And so your stern isn't being pinned in place like the bow is. What that means is when you have a side wind, your bow is being pinned, your stern isn't, so the stern will get blown downwind more than the bow. And that's why your kayak turns into the wind. This is where the rudder comes in. It drops in at the stern to hold the stern in place. Being able to control your rudder with your foot pegs lets you adjust for different strengths and directions of wind, which will cause your kayak to weathercock to different degrees. Of course, it has the added value of helping you to turn your kayak. So if you're going to be paddling in windy and open areas, you probably will want a kayak with a rudder. Until next time, I'm Ken Whiting, and that's your Ocean Kayak Kayaking Tip of the Week.
For more tips and your chance to win a fantastic kayak fishing package that includes an Ocean Kayak Trident fishing kayak and ex officio clothing, visit kayakfishingshow.com.